Okay, welcome to the third and final video for this week. In this video, I want to show you how to forecast a time series data set that has both a seasonality and trend component. So this is that quarterly TV sales data that we were dealing with before, and as always, you want to graph it. Okay, and I'll move it to a new sheet so you can see it better. Right, and then add my trend line. Okay, I'll make, again, there we go, make this bigger for you. Let's see. Okay, that's good enough. Right, and then I want to change my x-axis so that I can get a much better idea of any potential seasonality. So put your cursor in the plot area, right-click, select data, and then edit the horizontal axis label. And then again, highlight year and quarter. Yeah, that was it. Okay, and then hit OK, hit OK. And now, I've got my quarters here and then my years below that. And so now I can easily see that, in quarter two is always blind. Quarter two bicycle sales are always below the trend line, right? Here's Q2, here's Q2, 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 and then notice that Q3 and 4 bicycle sales are always above the trend line. Here, 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 and here, here, right? So the point being is I certainly have some seasonality in this data set as well. So I have both a seasonal component and a trend component. So with that, how do we model it? Well, okay, here is the regression model that we're going to run. And notice that basically this just combines the regression model from the first two videos, right? Here I have my seasonality component, and then here I have B4 times T. Well, that's going to help me get my trend component, right? So this model, is pretty simple. You're just combining the first two models that we did, right? The model with the trend plus the model with the seasonality get you this. Okay, well, we got to do a few things though, right? As we did last time, you need to create those dummy variables. So, got Q1, Q2, Q3, right? So if the observation occurred in Q1, I would put a 1 here. If not, I would put a 0. All right? And then for Q2, I'd have 0, 1, 0, 0. And then for Q3, I'd have 0, 0, 1, 0. And then like we did before, just copy this down. Okay. All right, there we go. Easy peasy. Okay, and now though, you do need, in this type of a data set, you do need to add a variable for your time component. Oops, spell it right. These, you have these variables here, but these will not work for this model, right? If you go back to that very first video for this week, we had year 1, year 2, year 3. That's the way your time variable must always be set up. So, for example, this is time period 1. That's time period 2. Here is time period 3. Blah, 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 right? So this is the way your time variable must be set up. So what this is telling me is that I have 16 time periods in my data set. Okay? All right. Well, here, my sales in thousands, that's going to be my Y variable. And then, of course, here are my 4 X variables, right? They correspond to Q1, Q2, Q3, and time. All right, so now we're all set up, ready to go. Let's run the regression. So we go to Data, Data Analysis, Regression. Okay, the Y variable. And then the X variables. I included my label, so I checked that box. I want those residuals. and the forecast, by the way. So I hit OK. And of course, Excel spits out its analysis, and here we go. Okay, so this is what I'm really concerned with. Make that, rats, make that big so you can see it. Okay, probably a little too big. Once you see the whole thing. Sorry. All right, there you go. Okay, so look at how well this model does, right? All these residuals are really close, you know. I know that everything is in thousands of sales, right? So, you know, if I take that and multiply that by 1,000, you know, that's only off by 51 bicycles, right? 200 bicycles, right? Better do the math. Yeah, 200 bicycles, right? So my point is, look, this model does a really good job. You can look at these residuals or your errors, and you can see that this model is doing a really good job. Now, the reason for that is because we have accounted for both the trend and the seasonality. So one would expect this model to perform better than if we just accounted for the trend or if we just accounted for the seasonality. All right, so the point being, now that you have your residuals or your errors, right, you can always do that mean squared error that we've been doing. So I'll square that, copy, take the average, and then I like to take the square root. Right, so that's pretty darn good. I mean, not too shabby. But you'd expect that. So, at any rate, my apologies. I digress. Or I belabor the point. Okay, so we've got this model. Now, I do want to say one thing. The interpretations here are a little bit different, right? Because this is not, strictly speaking, a dummy variable regression, right? Because time is not a dummy variable. Right? Yes, Q1, Q2, and Q3 are, but time is not. All right? So, although we can use this model, my point is the interpretation of the little betas, or the little b's here, B1, B2, B3, are different, okay? Because what's happening here, here, let me go to the chart, right? See, because I have this upward slope in my data, right, the average sales for quarter one, it's not constant, right? Every year, the sales in quarter one are going up. Every year, the sales in quarter two are going up. Now, despite the fact that Q2 sales are below the mean, you can see that they're still going up. Well, they came down a little bit here, but they're still going up, right? The Q2 sales in year 4 are definitely higher than the Q2 sales in year 1, right? So these little b's, here, they don't have the same interpretation, okay? Nonetheless, we can still use them. So actually, I should say that this really is an intercept now, right? Because if I go back, you could imagine taking this out to the end here and finding the intercept at time period 0, right? So what were the sales at time period 0? That would be your intercept, okay? So I guess my point is, this regression model is really not the same, right? I really do have a true intercept. And then the little b1, well, that's going to be, how do sales in quarter 1 react, right? Or what's the difference in quarter 1 sales, right? Are they high or low? And you can see here, right? That's why quarter 2 is so negative, right? Quarter 2 is always below, or relative to quarter 4, quarter 2 is always below it. And then, quarter 1 sales are always below quarter 4. Quarter 3 sales are always below quarter 4. But notice that these are not the differences in the means. Okay? That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, well, listen. Now what we have to do is forecast the sales. All right? Now, this one's a little bit different because I have to take into account the entire equation of this line. All right? So the way you want to do this is we're going to have something like let me go over here, just so I have a little bit more room, right? So I'm going to Q1, and then, bear with me, time period 17, right? So don't think about this, let me go over here. Don't think about this as being year 5. No, 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 no. I'm going to forecast time period 17, 18, 19, and 20, all right? And I need to do it that way, or to think about it that way, because of the way my model is set up, right? So here I'll have Q1, time period 17, Q2, time period 18, Q3, time period 19, and then Q4, time period 20, okay? So how do we forecast all this stuff? Well, we're going to use the equation of this line. So I'm going to do it kind of the slow way at first, but hopefully this will help you to see it better. So obviously, I'm always going to have the intercept, right? And then plus, now since this is quarter 1, that would be the dummy variable would equal 1. So I'm going to have 1 times the coefficient for quarter 1, right? Plus, now I have quarter 2. Well, since this is quarter 1, the dummy variable for quarter 2 would be 0. So this is just going to be 0 times the quarter 2 coefficient, right? And then plus 0 times the quarter 3 coefficient, right? Because this is quarter 1. And then plus, this is time period 17 times the time period coefficient. Okay, and there you go. So this would be my forecast sales in quarter 1 of time period 17. Now, I know, here, let me scoot over a little bit. So look, I don't expect you guys to put these two in there, right? I get it. I just wanted you to see why I'm going to leave like 2 of these variables out for the rest of them, okay? So with that in mind, what about quarter 2 in time period 18? Well, I need my intercept plus 1 times my Q2 variable plus 18 times my time variable. And there would be the sales for quarter 2 of next year. And then Q3 is going to be my intercept plus 1 times my quarter 3 dummy variable plus 19 times my time variable. Right? Now here for Q4, it's just going to be my intercept plus 20 times my time variable. Okay? Right, because Q4, the dummy variable for Q1 is 0, the dummy variable for Q2 is 0, and the dummy variable for Q3 is 0, right? So that would be the formula I would use to forecast my Q4, and things should work. There you go. All right, good job, Excel. All right, so there you go. There would be my forecast. Now again, when it comes to forecasting, and I, look at my chart, again, everything looks pretty smooth. Nothing weird jumps out at me, so I would feel very comfortable forecasting the next 4 quarters using this model. I would not go out any more, than the next 4 quarters. All right, and some of it. Let me just talk about this. See, you can see. Remember in the last video when we were just doing the seasonality, the predicted sales for quarter 1. This would be quarter 1 here. They were all the same. Well, see, now they're different because I'm taking into account that trend. And now you can look here at my quarter 1 prediction in the next year, right? It's well above. It's like 3,000 units roughly above my quarter 1 sales in year 1 because I'm incorporating that trend in there, right? And again, that's why my residuals are so low. Because I'm modeling, well, to be honest with you, in this data set, I am modeling everything that I can model, right? Okay, well, I don't want to belabor the point, and I've already gone on for 15 minutes, so this will be the shortest video of this week. But there you go. Here, let me go back here. here's the model that you want to use if your time series data has both a seasonality trend and a time trend. All right? Wonderful model. As you can see, it does a wonderful job of prediction, right? The residuals are small, so on and so forth. So there you go. All right, so from this, you've got 3 new forecasting models. The trend model, the seasonality model, and the trend and seasonality model. All right? Well, that's it.